Hey there, American Lit students. We are in our last week together, and I'm so bummed we're not together in class, and I'm so proud of you guys. It's been a long 7 weeks, and I know you guys are tired, and I am really glad that in a week you will be done. So some of you will be graduates, and or at least officially done, though I think a couple of you may have some AP tests after next Friday, so good luck with that. God bless you guys. I just remembered that. So that I'm sure is a bummer, but at least you only have that to think about. And the rest of you will be graduates, or you will be juniors who are now going to soon be seniors. So it's an exciting week for all of you, and I hope that you are able to finish well. And so kind of like running a marathon, you don't give up a block away, right? Even if you have to crawl across the finish line, you do. So I'll be praying for you guys to finish well in this next week. And yes, I do have an essay for you to write to bring some closure to our year together. And it's not that bad of an assignment though. And I want you guys though, before you write it, I want to bring us kind of back into this idea of what the American dream is, and make sure that you're fresh and confident and have thought about it a little bit, just to kind of get the gray matter moving. So that's why I've made this video. So I found a Prezi that's good, so just follow along with me for a couple of minutes. We know that the American dream, and we call it that, and if just a minute you'll see here on the screen where that phrase was coined, but this idea first really Thomas Jefferson put it into words with the Declaration of Independence, when he said that people inherently possess the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that phrase, the pursuit of happiness, obviously we know people in America were not very happy because the British were really, really cracking down on Americans' sense of liberty and freedom. They were really having a difficult time managing how to have Britain still be helping America get established, but at the same time giving America space and honoring what was being accomplished over here. So when they came up with this phrase, when Thomas Jefferson wrote this phrase in the Declaration of Independence, it really started to create this idea that there was this dream here that people had, of a very individualistic dream, not the way people lived in Europe, where things are very defined by classes, and what class you're in is what you were for your whole life, and really even the order of birth that you had. If you were the oldest son, the laws of primogeniture meant that you inherited everything. And if you were not the first son, you didn't. And you really had you had huge limitations on what you could accomplish in your life, and the amount of money you were going to have, and even what your career was going to be that you would pursue. So this idea of the American dream was something that was just kind of in the DNA of what was developing here in this country as people began to dream about, how do we create this country? We break away from England. What are we going to be? What are we going to become? So, and we know that happened. We read all about it. We read the Declaration of Independence and different documents together, and we know that this Statue of Liberty became this iconic symbol here of the American dream, welcoming people as they came into the harbor there in New York City, and promising them that yes, there are laws here that will protect you, but there are also laws here and freedoms here that will allow you to flourish as a person and pursue dreams. And what were some of those dreams? Originally when this country was being settled, people wanted to own lots of land, right? Westward expansion. And that was a desire to have land and crops and animals. And then it started, as industrialization came, right? The vision slightly changed, and by the early 1900s into the mid 1900s, the vision had much shifted into in the suburbs and cities, house with a picket fence and maybe a dog and maybe a half acre of land, right? Things were shrinking. And now, of course, people want condos. Have you noticed how many apartments and condos are built where they have to maintain nothing outside? So the American dream, there's still a dream here, but as we'll see, this dream is evolving. It's changing over time. And so, the gold rush, we talked about that a little bit. That definitely was a fuel to the idea of in America, you can have instant success. That you can be poor one day and then, wow, have this, find this golden rock in the ground and your life can be changed. So that kind of captivated Americans' imaginations as well in the formation of what the American dream was. But it was John Truslow Adams who coined the term, and I'm going to read this to you. This was back in 1931. The American dream is that dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. It's a difficult dream for the European upper classes to interpret adequately, and too many of us ourselves have grown weary and mistrustful of it. It's not a dream of motor cars and high wages merely, but a dream of social order in which each man and each woman shall be able to attain to the fullest stature of which they are innately capable, and be recognized by others for what they are, regardless of the fortuitous circumstances of birth or position. Fortuitous just meaning your good fortune. If you were lucky enough to be born into a wealthy family, that's great for you, but if you were in a poor family, you still could achieve, and you still could make a way for yourself and become someone, and obviously materialism is a huge part of the American dream. There's no doubt about it. The city on a hill vision that the earliest settlers and pilgrims had, right, that their faith was going to inform this new country, it really did shift over time into something that was driven by economics and ownership and materialism, and industrialization spun into all of that. But we see in The Great Gatsby, and actually, hang on one second, I'm going to go back here for a minute. I'm going to talk about The Great Gatsby. You see in Jay Gatsby this idea of a self-made man who, this idea actually goes all the way back to Benjamin Franklin. Remember, he wrote that book of all the things he was going to do to make himself better, and he had like a goal for each week of how he was going to, build his skills, and he thought he had certain weaknesses. Well, we see this in Jay Gatsby when his father shows Nick the book at the end and says, look, Jay had this whole plan, even as a young boy, of how he's going to improve himself. And he exercised every day, and he practiced his speaking, and he practiced how to hold himself, with great posture, all these things that Jay Gatsby felt were really important to become someone, to make something of himself. And but the reality of the American dream, and we have a quote here from MLK, that the American dream was not open for everyone. It wasn't open for men and women. It certainly was not open to Black Americans. It was not open to any women. And then other immigrants, when they got here, they realized that they were shut out of the American dream. Certainly they had limitations on them. And prejudice has played into this country and has limited the pursuit, individuals' pursuit of the American dream. Martin Luther says here, we will win our freedom because the sacred heritage of our nation and the eternal will of God are embodied in our echoing demands. When these disinherited children of God sat down at lunch counters, they were in reality standing up for what is best in the American dream and for the most sacred values in our Judeo-Christian heritage, thereby bringing our nation back to those great wells of democracy which were dug deep by the Founding Fathers in their formulation of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Again, MLK going back to those founding documents that established this pursuit of happiness and saying, Black Americans this has not been attainable. And that really, as they stood up for themselves and for one another, they were standing up for it was the ultimate standing up for the truest American dream and what it was supposed to represent to all people who live here. And so the American dream today, you know, is it still possible? You can see here, I'm trying to move this down a little bit to see some of these graphics, you know, concerns that people have in their pursuit of the American dream. Looking over here on the right, you know, that people would have financial security, happiness, a good job, own a home. Some of these may be dreams you all have for yourselves. They're dreams that are common in our culture. But to, you know, have enough money to retire. Obviously, a lot of these you'll see are very economically driven. But what's interesting, as new generations come through, the priorities of the American dream have changed. And your generation, for example, would say that personal fulfillment is more important than making a whole lot of money and being millionaires, right? In fact, I don't even really hear that very often from young people. You know, my kids and your generation, that's not something they were all out to achieve. Well, I can say when I was younger, you routinely would hear people say, I want to be a millionaire. And maybe that's because now $1 million isn't that much money, right, as it used to be. But the American dream is changing, but there's still this collective vision that people have for what they want to achieve personally. It's a very individualistic dream. And so obviously reading The Great Gatsby was really looking at the American dream that Jay Gatsby was pursuing, and that the reality of the American dream is that it can be very empty, very unfulfilling, and ultimately destructive. And you see that in that novel in a very gripping, poignant way. So as you read these 3 short stories, and I'm going to go, if I can navigate myself over here, I've got them right here. So this American dream, Say You're Doing For Me, is you're going to be looking, how's there evidence of the American dream in this short story? And all of these short stories, there are parents and children, different generations interacting with one another, each having a vision or experiencing the American dream, but it playing out differently in their lives. And so what I've done, you all can read the details for yourself. You choose one of these 3 stories. In my classwork assignment, I tell you a little bit about what each of them kind of are about, so you could choose which one to do. And then I've got some questions here for you to consider. Please read these questions. They're going to really help you with your essay. And obviously, as usual, if you have questions, go ahead and ask me and I'll try to help you. But I am looking forward to reading your papers. I'm enjoying what I've seen so far of your papers you just handed in. Your reflections on The Great Gatsby they're actually fascinating. So I'm enjoying those, and we'll have this graded through the weekend. I think I should have them by Sunday for you guys, so you know going in the week what your grade is. So missing you. Good job on Flipgrid, and hang in there with me for just 6 more days, and then you are done, and you are in your summer and in your future. So God bless you, and you'll be seeing more of me next week. Thanks for watching.